obviously this is all alleged, and we don't know what's going on with the case in regards to Wilfred Wong. But what was, because I know some of the people that got arrested on the day were counsellors.
I can give you my opinion.
Go on. Yeah, that'd be great.
And that's all I do, and I won't go any further. This is sub judice. The case is going for a court. What people need to understand, it's very, very sensitive.
Yep.
And any reference to it that is outside of our opinion will be classed as contemptible behaviour and will be subject to the provisions of the Contempt Act. So we must tread carefully. And the last thing I want to do is anyway infringe on Wilfred and his prospects of getting out. Anyway, so it looks like this is a failed rescue attempt. Wilfred has been investigating satanic ritual abuse for 25 years, and he's been frontlining this for a long time. He probably is one of the premier authorities on satanic abuse in the world. He talks globally. His medium is Christianity. He's very, very true in his faith. He is not a liar. He is not a thief. He's not a fornicator. But he is a man that will take justice when it comes to fighting the devil. And he would always make reference to when Jesus entered the temple, the moneylenders, and he said to me once, he didn't just turn over the tables, John, he whipped them with wet rope. Jesus went in there and he battered them. And that's the sort of angle that Wilfred takes his Christianity. If it means that they get wet rope, then they get wet ropes, as far as I can make. And he must be probably the bravest man I'll ever meet. The only person he fears is God, He's got a military background. He doesn't talk about it, but he has. And he's a tough guy, and he can handle himself as well, And he's a barrister, so he's an intelligent guy. And he was a lobbyist for Parliament for many years. And again, there's all this speculation about what he is. So let me put that to rest, He was a soldier, he was a barrister, and he was a lobbyist. And now he is a campaigner against satanic ritual abuse. And people do come to him, and he investigates claims. And he can be proactive in his investigations. This looks like, in my opinion, that there is a mother who is at her wit's end, because the family courts have done the wrong thing. The child is with the abuser, and the child needs to be removed from the abuser. And it looks like the child may be involved in satanic ritual abuse, hence the reason Wilfred Wong is involved. That's, the parallels that I'm drawing there. Whether they have approached the authorities and made the claims and asked for the authorities to help, i.e. the social services, the police, etc., I don't know. I speculate that they haven't. Maybe they worked on a vigilante basis. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, So, and it looks like that at the right moment, this child has been repatriated with the mother, and there's been some sort of attempt to remove the child from the family placement. And I would have thought that family placement is endorsed by the family courts. They had a car. They made their way from North Wales, and I think they were heading south. Now, where they were going, who knows? But they were London bound by the look of what's in the national press. I've not spoken to Wilfred. I've written to him. I've not had a response. There is a couple of groups that are in touch with him in prison, and there's not much that's been fed back. He is alive, and he is well, despite rumours. Again, there was a rumour that he was castrated in prison, which was absolute nonsense. However, what we need to look at is one of the co-defendants, the male co-defendants. There were 6 of them. There's only 5 alive now. 1 died in mysterious circumstances of suffocation in his prison cell.
So they've
2 weeks ago.
So they've been arrested. They've been put in prison, and now.
Well, it looks like the car is conveying this kid to a place of safety.
Yep.
I believe that the car has gone from some sort of ANPR, automatic number plate reader, and has just been pinged up all the way. I would presume the quickest route from North Wales to London would be M6, M1, which are both smart motorways, and they would have pinged up numerous cameras along the way. Now, in respect to the police response, now I'm qualified, due to my service as an officer, to comment on this. And having spent many years on child protection and dealt with kidnap cases, the way the police have responded has been correct. I don't think there's any collusion with the family courts or anything. This kid has gone missing, therefore,
They have a
and
duty.
been put in the cut. They have a duty, and they did a good job.
Yeah.
You know, they did what people have paid for. If that would have been your kid that had been kidnapped, you would want the same response.
Yeah.
Wilfred was found with a knife on him, and he's been negatively portrayed by the national press as being some knife-wielding, child abducting, kidnapping paedophile. That's how they put him across. And I have written to the governor of the prison saying this needs to be risk assessed because the man is far from any of them.
Do you think that's come out in the media and they've portrayed him that way because of the work that he's done?
I would have thought so. I have had one of the national newspapers contact me regarding Wilfred, and they were just saying, look, we're not going to go there with it because it looks like it clearly is a botched rescue attempt, which it is a botched rescue. And I said, I agree. But I said, what I take umbrage with is how he's been portrayed.
Yeah.
He's not been positively portrayed. He may well have a knife on him. I think that probably is a matter of fact. He probably did have a knife on him. Now, for a bladed article, it has to be over a 3-inch blade, and it has to be like a fixed blade, you know. So it's either going to be over 3 inches or it's a pen knife. That's a lock knife. A little lock knife would be illegal because it's rigid. It's not folding.
Yeah.
He may well have had that in his pocket. It doesn't mean that he's at
Carrying a
knife
machete.
point, you know, as an aggravating factor, has run up and put the knife to someone's throat and stolen a child, which isn't the case.
It's the way the media do it, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, they do that to try and portray someone, to try and, you know, put their character through the mill, basically, isn't it?
I think on a factual basis, probably what the media is saying has happened.
Yeah.
You know,
But the way it looks isn't what the way...
the mitigation is a world apart.
Yeah.
You know, so the mitigation for Wilfred probably, I would say, is that, okay, we did kidnap the child, you know, that is how it is, but we did it because this child was at risk.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not they alerted the authorities as to what was happening and their intention, or they did it, you know, ex parte to that, I'm not sure.
And so one of the people involved has been found dead.
Yeah. One of the co-defendants, a bloke called Frith, Peter Frith, I think his name is. He's a 65-year-old man on remand. They've all been remanded because there's a child at risk, so they need to be remanded. So that's justifiable, the remand, you know, until the next hearing. Hopefully, Wilfred will be bailed out. But during this remand period, they've gone to HMP Berwyn in Wrexham. It's a Category C prison. It's a big prison with a catchment area for Liverpool and North Wales. So a lot of people of poverty in there, and there's a lot of violence in this prison. I think it is the worst Category C for violence. Bear in mind, they've been portrayed as this group of paedophiles, child abducting paedophiles. Within a week of being in there, this Mr. Frith, the co-defendant to Wilfred, was found dead in his cell, suffocated. The first reports were that he was hanging, and then it's come out in the inquest, which is still ongoing, that there was a bag round his head. Oh. So they can't determine whether someone shoved it round his head and murdered him, or he's done it himself. I don't know. I've never, you know, all my years in the police, and I've dealt with quite a few suicides. Yes, hanging, gassing, jumping off things. I've never come across a self-asphyxiation. Mm. You know, I think Michael Hutchins did it, but it was, you know, some sort of sex act gone wrong and all that, you know.
That's bizarre, isn't it? You know, these
bizarre,
events happen, and when you think about it and how, well, you can only think of Jeffrey Epstein, don't you, and what happened to him in prison, and things like that, and then you only can correlate that. But yeah, it's a strange.
I mean, you just don't know. You just don't know, you know, what happens. But you know, people do die.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and one of the things that I always recall, and this is, you know, people forget the sacrifices that I have made for this journey that I've been on. You know, I've nearly lost my home. I've nearly had my children taken from me. I nearly lost my job, which was a minor thing, you know, and all that. But there was an occasion when I was with the cabinet minister for a member of the Privy Council, so a front bencher in Parliament for Policing and Crime, Sir Mike Penning. And he was addressing the Home Secretary's team regarding what I was doing and the fact that the police have covered it up. And he boldly stood up, and there was a representative for Theresa May there, And he turned round, and I think Amber Rudd was the Home Secretary at the time, and he turned round and said, had I not stood by John Wedge, he would not be alive today. Yeah, he would not be sat in front of me today, you know. And I said, what do you mean by that? He said, you know exactly what I mean, because I was present, you know. And he did. He boldly turned around and said that he really, really thought that I would have been taken out and killed.